Hey guys, I'm April from Giggle Glitter Graphics, and today we're working on part 3 of the Curioflora files. These files have been written by the mysterious Bloom Keeper, a collector of rare and magical flowers. Each week, you get a letter from the Bloom Keeper, as well as a recipe, information about the flower they found, and their notes. This is a free project series going out to members of my email list, but if you would like to join us, you can sign up using the link in the description down below and have this project sent to you immediately. This series has been inspired by stories from 5 of my past story junk journal kits. This week, the Bloom Keeper has visited the garden from my Spectral Garden Journal Kit series. I'll talk more about the Spectral Garden Kits at the end of the video. There are 4 sheets in today's download, plus another copy of the backer paper from part 1. We're going to use that same backer paper throughout. It is this striped one. I've printed 3 of the sheets on 32-pound copy paper. That would be the letter, the envelope, and then the notes with the recipe. And then we have a fussy cut, which I have hidden under my envelope. So our fussy cut and our flower card. Those are printed on cardstock. I use 110-pound cardstock for mine. I've used that backer paper on the envelope as well as the letter. You don't have to use it on the letter. I just like to have that finished, but we're going to fold this up and tuck it inside. So you can skip that if you want to, but I do recommend doing the back of this so that when you open your envelope, it's finished on the inside. You're going to need a pair of scissors to cut everything out. A paper trimmer is also helpful. I'm going to be using a liquid glue, Beacon Fabri-Tac today. The liquid glue is good for the envelope, but everything else, you might like to use a glue stick. I recommend Oohoo as a glue stick, and that's going to let you glue some of these items back to back a lot faster. I used Distress ink today. I used Vintage Photo Distress ink and weathered wood. And I kind of picked and chose what I used what on. I've got Vintage Photo on my envelope, as well as the notes, and then everything else I used weathered wood. I like that it has this kind of grayish blue. It really matched the theme today, so that is what that looks like. I've got that on my letter, the recipe card, and then this piece here. Oh, I also put it on the edges of my potion because this is a darker print and I didn't want those white edges to show, so I used the weathered wood on the edges of my fussy cuts as well. This series does focus on storytelling, so assembly is very much the same as last week, but we have a new letter for you to read along with information about this particular plant. I also encourage you to do whatever you want with this. You don't have to follow my instructions. You can create something entirely your own. And then I'd love if you would go to the Facebook group and share that with all of us there. I'll have a link to that group in the description down below. So let's start our assembly with the envelope. That way it can dry while we're working on everything else. And I'm just going to take my liquid glue and just like we did last week, I'm going to place it right on these little tabs. You've got 2 tabs to fold in, a tab to fold up, and then a flap to fold down. So you want to do all of those folds so that you have this front panel separated out. Once you get that done, then you can glue your tabs. So I'm only gluing up to the bottom of this angle here because above that angle, there's not going to be anything touching it. So just to this point. And then glue all the way down. And I'm just going to press this into place. And there is my envelope. I'll put that off to the side. Since I've got my fussy cuts here, let's talk about the fussy cuts. I cut using a Brother Scan and Cut. If you're cutting by hand, you're going to find it easier to probably cut out an identifying feature like the top and bottom of this, and then match them up, glue them together, and then finish cutting out everything else. And that's going to give you pretty good results that are nice and even on both sides, instead of trying to cut both of them freehand and then glue them together afterwards. So by hand, cut out the top and the bottom, stick them together, and then finish cutting everything else. And I'm just going to glue these back to back. This one you might like your glue stick for, but it is a little tall and skinny, so it might be easier to get glue exactly where you want it with a liquid glue. And then I'll just slide those into place, match everything up. And I'll give that a little rub just to make sure everything's nice and flat. Then we have our flower card. This is just going to fold in half. This would make a really cute little booklet or something like that. So if you're doing your own thing, that's something to keep in mind, that you can change these into books or cards, decorate the insides of them. So there is that card. Now I have my recipe card. This one folds in half this direction. And I'll just glue that back to back as well. And I have been so excited to kind of tie some of my stories together with this series. Over time, my stories have become more elaborate. This is tying into a lot of my earlier stories that are a little more freeform, a little less, this is our main character, a little more open so that you can interpret. Now, Spectral Garden does have both a history and a story. So I'm going to go over those a little bit later. I'm getting ahead of myself, but here's our notes. Fold in half tall, and then you're going to fold this in half to make a little book out of it, and then just glue these back to back. So Spectral Garden was one of, when I started really dialing in my stories. Last week I did Forest Adventure, and it was much looser. It left room for you to decide some of the details in the story, who your character was, why they were there, what were they there for. There's space for your creativity in that, where some of the other stories have more details. So I just fold that in half, give that a good crease. And now we have the letter. And just like last week, I'm going to use my envelope as a guide and just fold this using my envelope to make sure that it will fit inside. And then I can just slide that right in here. Now we can add this to the file. And I'm going to open this up. For me, it is to the second pocket. It's going to be this blueprint. So if yours are in a different order, just find the pocket with the blueprint, and everything is going to pop right down inside of there. Got my card and my notebook and my fussy cup bottle. I hope you guys are really enjoying exploring the stories in this series. I just wanted to do something different and really focus on storytelling for you all, because that is what I really love about doing these for you. So as I mentioned before, this week the Bloom Keeper visited the garden from my Spectral Garden series. And this is a quick little journal I've put together. It's not quite done. It's missing a few small finishing details, but I thought this was a great way to kind of let you see what these kits look like. And then if you're interested in them, you can head to the description down below and check those out in my Etsy shop. So there are two parts and then an extra paper set for Spectral Garden. The first part is Spectral Garden, and there is a story told over 6 kind of scroll ephemera pieces. So I have the first one here. And what I've done in my journal is I have made the first half of the journal tell the story with those scroll pieces. So those are kind of scattered through. And I used some vellum. I wanted kind of like a spooky, ethereal quality. So I used some vellum and a little stenciling with distress ink to kind of bring that in. But here is just a quick look at the first half of my journal. And here we are at the last entry, finishing up the story. And then we get to my center spread, and flipping over, now we're into the Spectral Garden History Kit. And what I did here is there's a letter in here from the sorceress from the garden. And then there's descriptions of different areas of the garden. So this is kind of a backstory, if you will, to the garden, because we don't know where the garden came from or what its story is. We just know that our character from the story, the first story in Spectral Garden, is there and what that person sees. So Spectral Garden History kind of gives you a little more detail about how the garden came to be, and then different things about it from the other character's perspective. So I thought it was kind of a really neat hand-in-hand kit and add-on. I haven't done this style again, so if this is something that you really like, kind of a peek behind the curtain of another story, then let me know and then show me what you've made with it. As always, that Facebook group is for anything you've made with Giggle Glitter Graphics. Graphics, along with any other supplies that you use. As long as you use some of my digitals, you can use anything else you like in the posts you share there. So please show me this if you do something with Spectral Garden or if you do something with any of my other kits. I did also want to add a long time ago, last year, it feels like a long time ago, there was a freebie that went with this, and that will also be down below. This is a free project that you could sign up and get. You can still sign up and get. So I will link this as well. This is an add-on and it is a great addition to all of these kits. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this week's installment of the Curioflora file, and I am really excited to share next week's letter and notes with you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.